Good morning and Merry Christmas. Welcome to Cinematic Diaries. My name is Justin, and today I want to share my experience with this bad boy right here, the Sony A7III. I have had this camera for 1 year now. I bought it at Christmas time last year, 2018. Yeah, I just want to go through a couple of things that have been game changers for me when it comes to this camera. Now, if you're not familiar with the Sony A7III, this is a freaking popular camera, and it was super popular in 2018. Like, there were a couple times I was trying to buy it and I couldn't find it anywhere. It was all sold out, it was on back order. Yeah, it's a pretty popular full frame mirrorless camera. I think one of the biggest reasons why it was so popular last year and even still today is the price point and the fact that it's a full frame. If you go to Sony's website, there are a couple of other full frame, actually there's several full frame mirrorless cameras. But this one, with the price point and then some of the features that were on it that weren't on some of the other ones, I think it was kind of that middle camera. It wasn't too high on the high end, but it didn't have some of those specs, but it also wasn't too low on the price point, and it had more specs than that. It was like a good middle ground camera. I think that's what made it so popular. And clearly there were a multitude of other things as well on it that made it popular. There were features that were not on other mirrorless full frame cameras that Sony has that are on that. But yeah, I've had this for a year now, and I can say with full confidence that this is one of the best purchases I've ever made. I do not regret buying it whatsoever. I make pretty much all of my videos on this, except for the camera that I'm using right now. I started making videos in college like 7-8 years ago, and I was making them on these little point and shoot cameras. So one day I'll show one of those videos. If you don't know me, I live in Nashville, and I came to Nashville for music, but I've been doing video as well on the side, just randomly. Like, it was never like an intentional thing. I also work for a chiropractor part-time, and he was the one that I was doing video work for. I've been doing video work for him for like 5 years. A couple of years ago, I thought, you know what, like, let me just try this thing. Like, let me start a YouTube channel. Let me start making videos, you know, freelance. And that's what I did. I got a new camera. My in-laws bought it for my wife and I. My wife's a photographer, and it's the Canon 77D. And that's what we're shooting on right now. Of course, it's not like the greatest camera ever made, but it worked at the time, and it was easy to use. Eventually, I bought the Canon 24mm 1.4, the prime lens for that camera, and that's what I'm shooting on right now. So I used that for about a year and a half. I was doing more and more video work for the doctor that I work for, and for several other people, and for me, the quality of this camera wasn't cutting it. I wanted something that had 4K capabilities, and then I wanted something that had 120 frames per second, and then something that was full frame. Those were the biggest reasons why I wanted to jump on the Sony A7III. It's popular, you know, a lot of people were raving about it. It was affordable. I guess those are the reasons why I jumped on that purchase, and it was a massive upgrade from this, and I was so pleased. Once I started to see the quality that I was getting from this as in comparison to this, not that this is bad, like my wife still uses this pretty much every week for some of her videos. It's a great stationary setup. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Yeah, this camera has been an absolute game changer for me and for the work that I do. There's really one thing that has been the biggest game changer that I did not know was gonna make a world of difference. What do you think it is? Guess in the comments below. I'll wait. Are you guessing? You should be. You should be guessing. Guess right now. Do it. I'm about to tell you. Alright, here we go. The one thing that has been an absolute game changer for me is the mode wheel. Who would have thunk? Yeah, the 4K is great. Yeah, the 120 frames a second. Oh, it's all cool. It's great. Everything. But the one thing that has been an absolute game changer is this mode wheel. The reason why is the custom settings. That was one of the bigger things that sold me on this. Is for some of the videos I do, you like to be able to switch from 24 frames a second to 120 frames a second, or from fast regular motion to slow motion. And on the 77D, it doesn't have 120 frames a second, it has 60, but on that I had to go in, You go in the menu, find the settings, switch over, get the ISO right, get the f-stop right, get the shutter speed right. I do all that stuff, and that took time, and it was so annoying. But this solves that problem. I have on the one here, that's my settings for just normal, regular shooting, just like this, 24 frames a second, shutter speed's at 50, ISO is at auto, white balance is at auto, and then my f-stop is at 1.4. That right there, that's run and gun videography for you. That solves that problem, makes it so easy. And then on setting number 2, that's where I have my slow motion. And then the functionality of the buttons, of the interface, of all of that makes it so easy to go in and change those other things. So the ISO, I can change that like that. The white balance, I can change that like that. It makes it super easy. So if I've got what I want, right? And then I see that maybe the color's off, so I go in and quickly change the white balance. It's a lot easier than the time that it would take to go in, especially on this camera, and change everything over to 60 frames a second. The mode wheel, that has been an absolute game changer for me when it comes to making videos and using this camera. I never thought for a minute that that would be the thing that would make this camera so valuable to me. For example, you know, my wife and I, we took a trip to the Smoky Mountains a few weeks ago, and it was a hiking trip, and it was a photography trip, and it was a video trip. Like, we just did all of the things, and we did all of the video. And so like, I was filming, and then I would see something and I'd be in 24 frames a second, but I'm like, oh, that would look super dope in 120 frames a second. So I'd switch over real quick, and then I can get it just like that. No distractions, no time wasted. But other than the mode wheel, and that was the biggest thing, there was 3 other things that I've noticed over the past year, and I've really I feel like I've just only touched maybe like 30% of this camera. Number 1 is the autofocus. I was really worried about this camera. It does not have a flip out screen. As you can see right here, I'm looking at the screen on this one because there is a flip out screen. This does not have one. And I was worried about that when it came to filming myself, to vlogging, but I really don't have to worry about that. I just need to worry about the composition, making sure that the lighting looks good, the lighting looks right, and that when I'm in frame, that I'm exposed well. That's the only thing I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about the autofocus. It is superb, absolutely superb. And then when it comes to taking photos as well, the eye autofocus, first of all, there's good face detection, but then even the eye autofocus. When you're taking photos, it finds the eye of the person that you're shooting, and it focuses on that. That was amazing. That makes taking photos so much easier. I've used this camera for photos before, and I'd go back and look at it, the photos, and I'm like, man, there's like several here that are out of focus. It looks in focus when you're in the moment, but really, like, when you zoom in, the person's face is out of focus and their shoulders in focus. And you're like, that's not what you want to be in focus. You want their face to be in focus. You want their eye to be in focus, unless you want like something else to be in focus. But typically, you know, portrait shots or whatever, you're shooting photos of people, you want their face to be in focus. The second thing was the low light capabilities. Now, this camera body on some of the other lenses, I couldn't vlog at night because the f-stop would only go down, I think I had like the wide angle one, it would only go down to like 4.5. Now, this camera with this lens worked pretty well at night, but this camera with this lens works 10 times better. The noise reduction was unbelievable on this camera. I had no fear of filming at night. I had no fear of thinking, oh, it's getting dark, we can't film, we gotta hurry up and get this done. Like, no, like, if I'm vlogging and I'm out, like, it's going to get the shot and it's gonna look at least pretty good. As good as it can look in pitch black, which I don't really shoot in pitch black. But city lights and the nighttime sky outside, the dynamic range on this thing is unbelievable. Both at nighttime and in the day. Like, you typically don't have to worry about being overexposed, as long as you have your f-stop right, you know, and your ISO right. If you've got those things out of whack in your video, there's a chance that you could be overexposed, or the sky behind you could be overexposed. But in my experience, as long as you've got those settings right, everything's going to be pretty well overexposed. So I guess number 2 is more about the dynamic range than the nighttime shooting. It's just its ability to be able to capture exposure both in the highlights and the shadows, both in the light and the dark. It's really unbelievable for a camera that's at this price point. And then the third and the final thing that has really been a game changer for me in using this camera this past year is the APS-C Super 35 mode. Now, what is this? The camera body is a full frame. What it does is it takes that full frame image and it crops it into an APS-C crop, similar to this camera. This camera has a crop on it. I don't know the actual dimensions of it, but there is a crop on it. From what I've checked, the 24mm lens is equivalent to a 35 now because of that crop. So what you're seeing is technically a 35mm shot. The same thing goes for this camera body, and that is so spectacular. For it to be a full frame but have the capability to crop in is unreal. I would say that's probably right below the mode wheel for me. An image, a shot, if I'm shooting portraits of someone, to say I want to do 24mm, but then I want to try it in 35. And I do that a lot. I'll go to shoot someone or something, and then I'll try it landscape 24, landscape 35, portrait 24, portrait 35, and just see whatever works the best, whatever looks the best. That versatility is amazing. Being able to have that versatility is awesome. If you don't have this camera and you're looking to upgrade to a full frame, or you're looking to invest in a brand new camera, I highly recommend this thing. It's still super popular. But that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're into these types of videos, here at Cinematic Diaries, I want to talk more about cameras, about the stuff that I use, about my experiences with shooting and just adventures and making short films. There's a few short films I've made that are here in the videos that you can go check out. And I've got a few more that are on the horizon as well. So I'd love for you to check that out. So make sure you subscribe. Other than that, I hope you guys continue to have a very Merry Christmas. It's December the 10th right now, and yeah, we're just a few days away from Christmas. But anyways, all right, we'll see you in the next video.